G'day Internet, Max right here, and this is going to be part three or vector three of kind of what's turning into a series, kind of the Bitcoin State of the Union address. And so right now, I want to talk about the security models. Now, security models of the different crypto networks is kind of a little bit of a boring topic, one might think. Don't worry, I'm not going to get technical, but I do think it's important to understand where the future lies. It's an important vector to wrap our head around. If you don't understand what I mean by vector, I highly recommend go back and watch the part one of I get this series, and I'll explain how I'm going to do this video series and the things I'm going to be talking about. So, the security model. Now, I'm not a security expert by a long stretch, so I do want to caveat with that. But I think what I'm saying is generally agreed upon. The consequence of this agreement and what the market holds in the future might be debatable. But I believe this is what I'm about to say is pretty factual here. If you consider the security models of the different crypto chains, and we'll start with Bitcoin, and we'll just go Ethereum and altcoins, so to break it up into three. Actually, let's just go Bitcoin and altcoins. Ethereum, so in the altcoin bucket. If you look at the surface area, so a Venn diagram, it's like this circle of what are the areas in which Bitcoin is safe. Now, I'm going to lean towards the Bitcoin is completely decentralized and completely censorship resistant. It's going to be there forever. Therefore, it has a very big circle, but that's debatable. I mean, maybe it's hard to predict the future. Maybe there's some ways in which Bitcoin can be defeated, right? So, but nonetheless, there's some circle which is the safe zone for Bitcoin. It cannot be defeated. Okay, and then if we go and look at pick another altcoin, we'll start with Ethereum. Where is its circle? What's the surface area of its attack vectors? What's the surface area of the areas where it is censorship resistant? And I think something that is clear is that the surface area of all of the different circles of safety for Ethereum and Solana and all the other coins, and even all of the other coins combined, is inside of the Bitcoin circle. So what does that mean? It means there exists a set of scenarios in which all the altcoins could be shut down, but Bitcoin cannot. I'm not saying this is the most likely scenario. I'm just saying this is a possibility. Now, does there exist a set of circumstances where none of these things got shut down? Ethereum is uncensorable. Solana is uncensorable. Bitcoin is uncensorable. That possibility exists. Another possibility exists is that somehow the government figures out how to censor all of it and eradicates them all, and blockchain becomes worthless. Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes down, everything goes down. That's another possibility. And there's the possibility where Bitcoin survives but nothing else does. That's a possibility. I personally don't see, and I don't think many people do, a scenario where Bitcoin is censorable, but Ethereum and Solana and the altcoins survive. That doesn't exist in the Venn diagram. The Venn diagram, Bitcoin covers everything. So it's possible they all survive. It's possible none of them survive. It's possible Bitcoin survives, but not Ethereum. Okay? That scenario where... the scenario where everything survives. Does it survive? Everything survive? Because if you can't shut down Bitcoin, what's the point in going and grabbing Vitalik and locking him in jail, going and finding the Ethereum stake miners and throwing them in jail, stealing all their stuff? Like, what's the point of doing that if you can't beat Bitcoin? All right? So there exist scenarios whereby all of the other cryptos can survive just because Bitcoin is surviving. It's Bitcoin's survival helps the other guys, helps all the alts. That's a possibility. That's a scenario as well that's out there and considering. And so I think this is a really, really important vector, even though it's a relatively boring topic for non-techie people, which is the security models. The there's some kind of, people talk about the flippening and like, is Ethereum going to flip Bitcoin, and is the altcoin market just going to completely devour Bitcoin because Bitcoin's a boring dud, and the altcoins got all this fun programming stuff you can get into it. And I really believe at its core, the answer is no, because I think the altcoins, we don't know for sure because there are components of the Venn diagram where everything survives, no problem. But there's a lot of scenarios, I believe, where if Bitcoin, there's a lot of scenarios, I believe, where the altcoins need Bitcoin to offer its protection, because there's no need to go after the altcoiners if you're not going to kill Bitcoin, there's no point. So why would the regulators bother? Why would they try? What's it going to achieve? And so I think that is a really important market vector, because at some point, for the security of the entire industry, Bitcoin has to survive. I think that's the light of all the overlaps in the Venn diagram. Bitcoin's survival is imperative in most scenarios. All right. I understand there are scenarios where it's not, but there's a lot of scenarios where it is, and I think Bitcoin survival is absolutely imperative, which means something. It's like at some point, if you think about how that plays out and what's that journey, well, all of a sudden, one actor gets taken out, like an altcoin. Let's say they go and arrest a whole bunch of the senior leadership from a particular altcoin. They go and arrest a bunch of miners. They confiscate equipment. Blah 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 blah. If that happens, question: how many people are super enthusiastic to go in and take over that chain, become a miner for that chain, and start trying to be the leader of this chain or whatever? Just no one. It's just not. It's not a thing, right? No one's going to want to do that. Some people will, but not enough for it to be significant. And that chain, whatever it is, will be destroyed. Now, of all the other chains, right, and all the other altcoins out there, you witness that. What do you want to do with your wealth? You want to flee back to safety and go back to Bitcoin. And so this regulatory landscape is going to be very interesting for the next year or two. If we see some altcoins, it's probably not going to be Ethereum, but I don't mean to throw shade on Ethereum. I got nothing against Ethereum, but it'll probably be one of the easier targets. It'll be one of the, it could be like a chain that's almost abandoned, or it could be a chain like EOS, for example. Basically, it's not completely abandoned, but basically abandoned. And so who's going to fight to the death to keep that alive? It's not just going to grab some people and say, oh, your token sale was wrong. Let's put some people in jail. Let's mess with the people. Let's confiscate some wealth. Those kinds of things. What do the other chains see when that happens? How do they adjust their behavior? Do all of a sudden, does it have this chilling effect, a silencing effect? They're no longer touting their coins. They're no longer spruiking for them like they used to. They all of a sudden become anonymous. And, all of the things that happen after there's an attack, and you see some of these actors go to jail. And I think it's kind of inevitable. I think that regulators are going to regulate. They got to get their fines. They got to punish people. They got to do things. It's what they do. And so there's just going to be some hotshot, in some bureaucracy there. It's like, I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to go after some of these guys, and it's going to help my career. And he thinks he's doing the world a good favor, but he's advancing his career. And I just think it's going to happen. And it can't, I don't believe it can happen in Bitcoin. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it's definitely the easier targets are some of the altcoins. And I think you might see an event in the next year or two where at least one, maybe several altcoins are really hit hard by regulators, and in which case you're going to see a flight to the safety of Bitcoin. And so that's an important vector to wrap our head around as we understand the crypto climate over 2022. All right, guys, take care. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button for me. Take care.